Hi, I'm Andrew Wallace, and welcome to the We've Got a Problem podcast, where each week we explore inspiring stories of struggle, success, and solutions to prevalent problems and how our guests have turned a problem into an opportunity. Today, I'm talking to Nickie Cobble, a young entrepreneur who, in the short time since graduating from Florida State, has built a credit card processing company, developed, grown, and sold a digital marketing agency, and now heads an outsourcing agency helping business owners save, scale, and succeed. Nickie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and for that flawless and humbling introduction.
Well, there you go. I mean, you're relatively young. You've had a lot of experience already. Give us some background. How did you get your start? How did you decide to become an entrepreneur?
So I know something that your podcast actually touches on a little bit is whether or not this is kind of an overnight success, like let's say luck. Yes. Which, I don't believe in luck. I believe in that cheesy phrase of where preparation meets opportunity, if you will. But it's definitely been a lifetime of, not a long lifetime, I'm 22, but a lifetime of perfectionism and really, really hard work. So kind of like, just like you said, I did become an ISO, so an independent sales organization for a payment processing company. If it sounds boring, it's because it is. But prior to graduating, so I did graduate at the age of 20. So when I did graduate, I kind of had that going, and it taught me sales, which is just such a crucial part of every entrepreneur and business person, every person in general. Sales. You're constantly selling yourself, right, Andrew?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Everybody needs sales. Everybody.
No doubt.
And there's an aversion to it too. I mean, people don't think, I don't want to, I just feel so sleazy. No, you've got to sell always, always, always. Now, you don't want to be selling to somebody who's not a client, who's not even a prospect, not interested in your product. That's the stuff that people don't like. The hard press is like, I'm not the person, like, I'm not going to buy. I'm sorry. Like, stay away. But otherwise, you got to be out there. You got to be hitting the pavement, so to speak. So yes. Go on, please.
No, that was an important side note. Sales, super important, and don't even consider it as sales. You're really just presenting people with the solution they need, right? You're targeting your own clients, people that are in your wheelhouse. Following that, I realized, being in payment processing, which only businesses use, I realized there's a lot of similar industries that are B2B. So I was like, every business I'm working with, they have crappy websites. I could be building them websites. And that's where kind of my digital marketing agency came about. I was going to help with social media and build their websites. I'm already dealing with businesses. First lesson I learned in my life, which was, did it make money? Sure. I hated it. I'm too much of a perfectionist to be in that industry. Because websites are never perfect. They're never done. They're always ongoing. And so I had to step back, sell it. And that was within 6 months. I was like, this is not sustainable because this is not making me happy.
Right.
Skipped forward to the outsourcing agency, where it was kind of literally a see a need, fill a need. I was starting to get bored of payment processing, right? It was never going to be a long time thing. And I wanted to basically delegate it or make it as passive as possible. I ended up finding and hiring my own virtual assistant for $4 an hour from the Philippines. Everyone else started realizing or noticing, how are you not working, but still making money, and you have this business, and how can I? So I started doing it for them, and then a business kind of just grew out of that. Yeah. So that's the origin story.
Yeah. I mean, so the interesting thing, like you say, see a need, fill a need, is how people don't think of filling a need once they see it so often. I mean, people, that's how so many businesses get started. I see an opportunity. I'm going to turn this problem into an opportunity. That's part of the subject of the podcast, right? But that all you're doing, and that's why when you're selling, you realize I'm filling a need. This person has a need, and I have the solution for you. You may not like it. You may not want it. All those things. Okay, fine. We can talk about that. I can hone my pitch, but trust me, this is something that you might need. That you've got a need for, and I have the product to fill it. So being a small business owner is hard because you're oftentimes wearing many hats, and I think that's one of the things that holds a lot of people back in business and otherwise, and even think about starting businesses. They go, I can't do this all myself, but I'm going to have to for a little while, and I don't know how long I can do that. or all those kinds of things that go through. How can outsourcing kind of help a small business owner who's struggling with some of those things?
Right. So the main way outsourcing helps or delegating helps, I feel like some people get kind of wishy-washy about outsourcing. So I like to say delegating, but it's really the same thing to me. But really, it's to help get that small business owner out of their own way. So, and the main objective is obviously to save you time. It will save you money. It will save you stress. And quite frankly, it will improve the quality of certain things. So social media is a really basic one to begin with. So I'll use that as an example. So let's say you're a small business owner, you think you don't have the funds, you don't want to pay anybody to do it. So you're doing it yourself, right? You're spending, let's say 5 hours a week. So you're wasting, let's say 5 hours a week. You're not really good at it. So you're putting out really bad call to actions, really low resolution photos. You're not getting anyone's attention. You might make your credibility look worse.
Right.
And it gives you a lot of anxiety and stress.
Yep.
All of that could be done without if you hire someone for, let's say, $10 an hour, 5 hours a week, just like you were doing, and they're 10 times better at it. Right. So that's kind of where delegating and outsourcing comes in.
And they're also more efficient. Let's just, when you're doing, you can't be great at everything. And even if you are, your time is often much better spent on higher revenue generating activities. That if you are, let's say, a great typist, I always go back to that one, right? Just, you can type something really fast, whatever, 70 words a minute, all that kind of stuff. Handing handwritten notes to somebody who's even a little bit slower, that you pay half of what you make, and then you can go off and make hundreds of dollars an hour, let's say, is a slam dunk, because I can actually not only pay for the work I'm having done, but take on more while I'm doing it. And that's an easy business thing to see. I think the hard thing for a lot of people is figuring out how to hire those people, right? I don't have the time to stop what I'm doing long enough to find that person. I know I need help. I know I need to delegate tasks, all those kinds of things. How do you guys kind of fix that? How do you address that?
Right. So that was actually the first thing in my business that I had to fix. Because the first, let's say 3 months, I had churn with a couple of clients. And the main thing is they kind of just thought, you know what? I'm a small business owner. I should have an assistant, right? I should be delegating. So I'm going to get one. And then they kind of just cross their fingers, hope they read their mind, and they don't really take the time investment to train them or give them instructions, or there is always going to be some form of time investment. And then it's basically a very expensive nothing you just hire, because you're not taking advantage, right? It's just you're paying for someone who's there, and they got no results.
So walk me through your process. What do we get if we go to your outsourceaid.com? How do you take me from soup to nuts? I want to hire somebody. What's it like?
There we go. Okay, Andrew. So basically, with that in mind, right, with that churn, and the solution that we decided was, if you're interested, and typically we like businesses that are just hitting that 6 figures and up, but we can work with anybody, is we do a time audit, right? So you really have business owners, and it's not going to be time consuming for them. We just want them, set an alarm on your phone every 3 hours, write down what you just did. We want to see how you're spending your time, where you're spending your time. And we want you to see that too. That's really important, because some people might say, you know what, I need someone to do my social media. I'm not doing that. But really, they need someone that's managing their CRM more often, or doing their bookkeeping, or, really even just data entry or taking meeting notes. There's things that they're kind of overlooking, and they're just thinking maybe social media is the easy choice.
Sure.
So that's the first thing, is I'm going to have you do a time audit. A week later, we're going to check back with you, and we're going to see, okay, let's review this. Where are your symptoms at? Where can we save you 10 hours a week, quick and easy? Then we will source, screen, recruit a VA for them on their behalf. We're going to do the interviews. If you want to interview them as well, great. We'll give you our top 2 candidates, make that introduction, and then kind of go from there. Though we will say some form of SOP or documentation or even task, right? Which is hard to say, but like some little test to see, okay, they can manage my emails. Those are all ways that you as a client or you as a business owner can better prepare yourself for this assistant.
Yes, yes. So you're basically finding the people doing the recruiting, but it is of course still up to the business to train this person correctly, delegate the task to them appropriately, all those things, right? Still very much your employee in a sense. I mean, the business owner's employee.
Right. And it is just like having an employee. They're on our payroll, right? Because they're exclusively from the Philippines due to westernized culture and due to they speak English, little accent. I could go on, but they're on our payroll. We deal with the payment. They're paying us. We pay them kind of thing.
Right.
So they're not on their payroll. They don't have to do benefits. They don't have to do insurance, but they should be treated like another partner with their organization. They should still be giving them documentation and talking to them like they're buds. I mean, you don't really have to, but I recommend it.
But you're hiring somebody who is dedicated to you. They're not. Yes. They're not, I say a call center, just, okay, we're going to split time. Okay, you used 1 hour of their time and that person's then working on this and switching screens between 9 different customers and picking up the phone, right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So we, unlike, what are the two like super important, Fiverr and there's another one. I can't think of it, so I'll just move on. But those people are kind of just doing one-off projects, assignments. There's no loyalty. So ours are specifically loyalty. They're your employees. They will work for you, but you have to. And we'll give you tools and resources to help you train them, but we can't do the training on their behalf.
Right, right. Well, I mean, we've all had horrible experiences with outsourced, offshored customer service, those kinds of things. And in many ways, that's a failure of the employer to appropriately train and create the procedures that are necessary. But all that stuff takes a lot of work, right? To be in that world. How can you help? I mean, even tips for your clients. How do you help avoid those kinds of negative experiences?
Right, and it's constantly a work in progress of tell me what was hard, tell me what maybe you didn't like about our process. How can we improve? But now we are instigating a onboarding system where right off the bat, we're telling them, hey, this is how you can give them a US phone number so you can text easily or maybe use WhatsApp or Slack. We're giving them the tools that we like to use. We're initiating a 3-way call to kind of make that introduction and say, okay, one company wanted to walk them through what tasks they're going to be doing. And I was right on their onboarding system and training just so I can kind of just help the communication in the beginning.
Sure.
So just giving them packets of how to best communicate and how to best train. But like I said, unless I'm physically at the location of the business, it's not like I can rewrite their SOPs. But we do what we can to kind of just aid the communication in the beginning.
Right. And how do you guys get paid? Is it a flat fee? Is it a per hour? Are you taking a commission off of each employee? How's your pay structure?
So the pay structure is basically like by hourly packages. So let's say you only want a VA for 5 hours a week. That's just $200 flat. So while it is hourly, you're paying for 5 hours a week. So if you only use them for 3 hours, you're still paying for 5 hours a week. But it goes up. So we do 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours a week, just depending on what you need. And then each price is flat.
So who's your ideal client for this kind of stuff? What kind of businesses have you really found success with? And who do you think this is right for?
So my favorite client right now, I actually just got her. She was the one who I was kind of referencing. They actually own 14 Sonic chains. So they're kind of a franchise. They own multiple locations. It's within the payroll department. They just needed to outsource with kind of tracking PTO, tracking their employees. There was one other, even recruiting. They were using VAs to start the recruiting process because, there's so much churn with employees nowadays, particularly minimum wage. And they came ready with their SOPs and they're easily probably making 6 or 7 figures. So they didn't kind of gawk at paying $200 a month for 5 hours, which is actually nothing. It's actually very, very reasonable.
Right.
Who I've realized is not our ideal client are those that haven't hit that 100,000 plus mark yet. They really can be doing it all, and they're just kind of delegating to delegate. But
right.
Again, like I said, they're not investing their time in training, and they're just not ready yet. So unless, like you said, they're delegating to do more profit generating tasks, a VA is just not for them.
Yeah. So what would you say the biggest hurdle to growth is for your clients and for small business owners in general? You've had a lot of experience already with this kind of thing, growing your businesses. Mm-hmm. What's holding people back?
Themselves. So it's particularly for entrepreneurs, I think everyone can relate. We're the best. We wear all the hats. We're kind of perfectionists. We don't want to delegate something if we think we can do it 100% perfect.
Right.
Because we don't want someone kind of screwing it up. But they really, so you can work on your business and not in it, and you can scale and make more money. If someone's doing something 80% as good as you are, delegate it and move on and do better stuff, or else you're going to be your own obstacle in your
mm-hmm.
business.
Yeah. Delegation is the big thing. And usually if you're curious about the obstacle, it's probably you mm-hmm. Standing in there. I think one of the complicated things for anybody is knowing exactly where your own limits are, knowing what the best use of your time is. And especially when you're in the middle of it and you haven't taken that step back to think about whether this is something you should actually be doing, even those kinds of things that they tell you to do at the beginning of the year. What are we doing that we shouldn't be doing? What should we be doing that we aren't doing? And what are we, what are we not doing that we don't know we don't need to be doing? All those kinds of things, that little bit of clarity to go, I'm not expert at this. I'll bet there's somebody out there who is, and that they could handle this task at a much lower expense, especially if I use somebody perhaps not from this country mm-hmm. to accomplish it, when it doesn't rely on those kinds of skills. But also, yes, delegating something, even to a local employee, even to somebody that works in your office, delegating is always hard, because mm-hmm. you have to be very clear about what you're delegating. You have to be very clear about the expectations, while simultaneously not trying to micromanage. Really what you're saying is, I need to get to this end result. And whatever steps you take in between, as long as you get there on deadline and the time gets hit, that's your process. You've kind of got some flexibility there. As far as bottlenecks and things like that, how can people break through these things beyond the hiring process? What else have you seen? Is there a kind of low-hanging fruit that you see beyond the outsourcing? Yeah.
So other than, I guess, learning yourself and like doing that time audit, learning where your time's being used, how it's being used, and then being able to delegate based off of that. Mm-hmm. It's systems, which is still very, very vague, but you need to have systems in place prior to actually delegating and make everything so much simpler and easier to kind of hand on that work. But even just for you, especially if you're a one woman show, one man show, or even a team of 100 people, putting in systems not only for fulfillment, but for sales, putting in processes, utilizing a CRM, kind of, what is that book? There's a lot of books, but the E-Myth, right? That is the book to go to for systems in order to prepare you for selling or scaling or improve your valuation. There's just systems is the fastest and one thing you can do to improve.
Yes. And that's been a kind of recurring theme on the show. Folks, if you haven't listened to the episode with Andrew Zimmer on it, go back and check that one out. He does an excellent deep dive into how systematizing his process has made offering services, legal services, for far less money than he can undercut competitors because he's got such a systematic approach to it, increase business and make way more money. Check that episode out if you haven't. So we're getting kind of to the end here. I asked some questions of everybody, and thank you so much for bringing us into your process of outsourcing and how that might make a difference. Delegating tasks to a virtual assistant can help people break through their bottlenecks. But what do you think the biggest fallacy is? And this can be general as far as the entire world or very specific to your niche. What do you think the biggest fallacy is that everybody buys into, but that turns out to be total BS?
Well, right off the top of my head, just because I have to think of my own industry and my own business now, is kind of outsourcing too soon, right? You kind of get a big head, you just start a business, you think, step one, I need a partner. And I think that's too soon. I think you can jump the gun. I think you could be under prepared for delegation or outsourcing. And I think it's a total fallacy that you kind of need one right off the bat. But then there's the also catch 22. You can also wait far too long to get that additional help, because you don't want to by any means be in a business entirely alone. So I guess that's the first thing I'd have to say right off the top of my head, specifically within my niche, is hiring one too soon.
Yes, there's a kind of corollary to that, which is thinking that hiring one will solve all your problems with no additional input, kind of like you'd said earlier, that people go, I'm just going to test this out and try it, but they don't put in the work that's necessary to actually use it effectively. And just going, well, I need to delegate and put this and do this right off the bat. Sure, yes, bad idea before you've gotten all your ducks in a row. But also, it's just not going to solve everything. You're still going to have to, you've still got to be a conscientious business owner and focused on it. Yes, yes, yes. So the other side of that, the next question is, what is severely underrated? What are people missing?
God, I almost want to just plug myself again, if you will, because there's other people who think I was the same way. I can do it all. I don't want to hire someone to do something that I can do, because that is a recipe for being a bottleneck. If I can do it, I will do it. No, because you're the face of this company. You're the profit generating, you're the sales, you're whatever. And you need to be delegating the tiny things like bookkeeping or CRM management or social media or recruiting, whatever it is. You need to get out of your own way. And it's underlooked, particularly for SMBs. Bigger businesses, they know that. Right. Apple knows that they need to outsource certain things. They know that. So small businesses need to kind of learn from that. And another thing that I'll add, just to caution before this ends, is, you hire, let's say, an assistant for you, and you want to keep kind of piling on things. And that's fine at first, but you don't want a jack of all trades. Because they're going to be taking on, they're going to be a yes man. They're going to start taking on things that they might be subpar at. So you don't want a jack of all trades, master of none. Maybe you have someone that's good at social media. You might eventually need one that's a specialist in bookkeeping. Right. But you don't want someone to do everything. So that's another thing I'll caution. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's a big mistake I think a lot of people make in hiring in general, not just outsourcing activities to a VA, as you say, but also in hiring small business owners, hiring your new person. Do you want them to be a jack of all trades? Hire some young guy. He's going to manage my social media, and he'll be taking care of the stuff behind the counter and stock boy and and I'm going to try and get him to do some bookkeeping as well, because I don't have time for that. And suddenly you go, look, you can't do any more. You might, one, have to hire somebody else, but two, you don't want to try and expect that somebody's going to be expert at all these things that you're handling. They cannot possibly be. They cannot. It's a practical impossibility, because you aren't. And that's why you hired that person.
That's right.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me, folks. If you want to know more about Nickie, you can follow her on LinkedIn and Instagram, and check out her website at youroutsourceaid.com/deals, where she's offering a special discount for listeners. Until next time, we don't have a problem. We've got an opportunity.